Jay Joyce's cutting-edge production has delivered a project that I dare say is the best record we've made in the 5 years I've been at Capitol Records. We're very excited to introduce to you today our next star. Please welcome Eric Church.
So, do y'all want to hear my single? There we go. They told me you guys were stiff. It's called, we ready, boys? It's called How About You, How About You, How About Yous, depending on what part of the country you're in. So, it's my single. I know where I come from. How about you? I don't need baggy clothes or rings in my nose to be cool. The scars on my knuckles match the scuffs on these cowboy boots. And there's a whole lot more like me. How about you?
Please. We are proud once again to have Bob Kingsley's Country Top 40 as a sponsor. Bob has been a longtime supporter of the songs of country music and songwriters who create them. He will again be hosting Acoustic Alley featuring hit songwriters tonight in the Legends Ballroom. It's a treat every year. And in addition, Bob Kingsley's Country Top 40 is the official sponsor of the CRS 2019 attendee bags distributed at registration, and the CRS agenda guide that is helping you get around. We would like to also thank Bob Kingsley's Country Top 40 for their commitment to country music and the support of CRS for all these many years. And we're also proud to have the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum sponsor CRS again this year. We hope you took advantage of all that time yesterday to check out the galleries. Lots of good stuff. In addition, the museum will be hosting 90s Country Night at the CRS for attendees. That is tonight in the event hall from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And we're also grateful for the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum support and lucky to have them as such great neighbors. And finally, special thanks to Futuri for curing our midnight snack cravings with delicious treats that have been delivered to your rooms each day, unless you put the Do Not Disturb sign on, which I did, so I didn't get it last night. But just a reminder to please remove the Do Not Disturb. So there it is, all right. But you can go down to the desk and get it if you didn't get it already. And first impressions do matter. Please take the time to visit Texas A&M's social media headshot photo booth. That's in the Legends hallway each day. They'll take a professional photo and provide you with one edited image 2 to 3 weeks after the CRS. So thank you, Texas A&M, for providing this great service for our CRS attendees. On another note, if you're not planning to stay for the New Faces Country Music Dinner and Show, we ask you to please turn in your tickets at the registration desk, as we do get last-minute requests. And let us know how we are doing. Rate the sessions, give us verbatim feedback on the app, and you'll have a chance to win a free registration for next year. And final reminder, please silence your cell phones. So now let's get started. I'd like to welcome Becky Brenner from Albright and O'Malley, my good friend, and for our session, How to Maximize Grassroots Marketing Strategies. Becky?
So I think you're in for a treat today. We have some very talented people next to me, and you've probably been seeing the work throughout the week so far, but we're going to spend the next 40 or 50 minutes or so talking about how you can monetize and maximize grassroots marketing strategies, some that are used in political campaigns, retail and sports campaigns, and how to increase your station or your artist presence on a very limited budget. And we have a special panel. Well, first I want to say thanks to the agenda members. This is a topic that's been covered at CRS before, but I don't think ever in quite this creative of a way. So Tim Gerst and Judy Lakin, Drew Bland, who's going to sit up here with us today, all of them worked hard in putting all this together, along with Jeff James. And Jeff is one of our speakers today. Jeff is the owner and the creative technologist. I love your title. The creative technologist at CX05 Partners. And Carolyn Gilbert, not to be outdone, Carolyn is the supreme high priestess at New Voodoo Media. She's the owner and president there. And Drew Bland is the program director for Entercom at the Wolf in Seattle. So those are our wonderful panelists here today. And let's get started. Maybe you could talk a little bit about how the brainchild came to be.
Well, thank you very much. It was exciting to kind of get to work on this, and I think maybe to set it up just at the beginning is to go through some of the creative that you may or may not have seen throughout the campaign. But there were some guardrails that we started with in order to make it applicable to your markets and to specific projects that you might be working on or campaigns you're working on. So one of those was our budget could not exceed $400. So some of the stuff you're going to see today, we try to keep it between $400 and $500 in all of the spend. So all the media that you've seen, all the stickers that you've seen, the candies that you've seen, we either got donated. We worked hard to keep our budgets very small. And so what really is about grassroots marketing is it's all about intent and passion. So it started off with two really great candidates. Those candidates being John Esposito and, of course, Johnny Chang. And pitting them against each other, the first title that was actually given was Supreme Leader, and then appropriately for Mr. Espo, we added Exalted to the title that they would be running for. And then, of course, we gave them logos so that they could actually have an identity. So in an applicable world, think of this as your station's brand. And then, of course, we started to create some supporting collateral. Two really important pieces of that were the graphics that we would be using on social media. And then, of course, we created an influencer guide so that our candidates could actually share that information with people that they wanted to influence or that wanted to tweet or hashtag about it. So a little bit of a communication component for them to help spread the word. And then last but not least, Carolyn and I, as the dubious campaign managers, began to play what we do best. And so part of it was the social media and the engagement. And so, Carolyn, if you want to talk a little bit about your campaign and about Mr. Espo and how you guys kind of went with that a little bit.
Well, being in research, I've never actually met my candidate because my career has been spent keeping as far away from record people as I could because it just didn't behoove my business. I love them dearly. They do great things. But I talked to him on the phone once, which is great. I also had 1 week. I found out a week ago I was doing this. But what we did, we used a variety of techniques that we thought would be good and available to radio. We spent a grand total of $258.99 to date on social, and I'll talk about what we did there. And I guess about a week ago, I looked it up, and we spent, I think I have one in my pocket still. Yeah, these 500 for $36. So we are significantly under budget, but you will be seeing things for the rest of the week because the results aren't until tomorrow night. There are many things you can do personally. They're not that expensive. They're not that valuable. They don't do the job, but you can, word of mouth, we know, is a great way to spread the word. So my staff and I all shared Espo's videos on our personal Facebook pages and just said, hey friends, do this, vote. I don't know whether, if you are on the radio side, you might have received an email blast in the last hour. We have a license to do that. It's all you can eat. So that was essentially at no cost to us. From the radio station side, if you're promo suite and you maintain a good database, which I certainly hope you do, you can spread the word that way. That's free. The stickers were almost free. Your relationship with the record industry can be extremely valuable. Free. Get something worthwhile, spread the word, and you've got a valuable prize. So anyway, the free stuff, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. But what we spent money on was doing it right. I mean, you can always do a promoted post, but that's not the best way to do a Facebook campaign. You should actually use the ad platform and get in there and see what's going on, see what your competitors are doing. And by doing a custom audience, you create an audience you can do by looking at your database. It's not just about country music. How many of your listeners also listen to hip hop? So you don't want to go in just via, oh, they like country music. What you want to do is take your database, and you have the ability to create a lookalike database through the Facebook ad tools and find people like the people you're dealing with and the people you want to do whatever it is you want them to do. And that can be done fairly inexpensively, especially if you work with people who really know the social space. One of the other things we did was we put radius control around this hotel for the past 24 hours and through the end of the week. Therefore, while you're looking at Google or you're in Facebook, you're liable to see an ad for Espo come right up in your Google feed and it's targeted right around, geofenced around this hotel. So that's some of the stuff we did. We find that video drives engagement better than display advertising. And the goal here was not necessarily impressions, it was engagement. We wanted people to vote. And I will tell you something, I had about 10 minutes last week when Drew and I talked and we did these. I failed to put a call to action on our stickers, my fault, but again, you know, they said, we'll get them to you in 3 days if you order within 5 minutes. Okay. Give me 2 weeks and we can do something.
That was an awareness campaign.
I should mention, too, we will certainly take questions throughout, and because it's going to be so fast and it'll be short, just step up to either microphone on either side of the stage if you have a question about anything that either of them are talking to. Everything is recorded, so we want to make sure we get the questions on the recording. So if you can use the mics, that'd be great.
Yeah. So from our perspective, we began to create graphics, and one of the key takeaways that you get from the app is some ideas around grassroots marketing and some of the things that we're talking about from a practical perspective. But one of the key things is we got our design team to work very quickly, and we actually got one of our designers who wants to work with our company to help on the graphics for free. So we basically reached out and said, hey, you want to prove how good you are? Here's an opportunity. And so all the artwork that you see, we got donated by somebody who wanted to use it as part of their portfolio. So there's a creative way to get somebody engaged as well about your campaign. In addition, we also ran ads for Johnny on pay-per-click. This campaign here, so we spent about the same amount of money on Facebook, but we spent about $25 on Google AdWords. And what we did was we were hitting you when you were landing at the airport. So if you were looking for, oh, I need to download the app. Oh, I need to figure out what the schedule is. So we were using what we would call halo marketing terms or ad terms to get you when you were not expecting to see an ad. So starts off as awareness from the time you get from the airport, working into some of those geo-targeted ads on Facebook. And again, starting very small. One of the key things to remember about grassroots marketing is it's all about passion and intent. So even when you're thinking about creating a large campaign, messaging is so vitally important. And we're going to show you a couple of videos here in just a minute of each of the each of the candidates, but one of the key things that we did was we gave them a messaging platform to play with. And we said, hey, create some videos around these, and you're gonna see their passion, their emotion, and that's what drove a lot of the engagement. I think, how many video downloads did you have? Or views? Close to?
Well, we had, hold on one second, I have these numbers right in front of me. We reached 5,156 people with a frequency of 4.06 per person, and with 20,908 impressions. We had 271 people click the link itself. 3-second views were amazing, almost 5,000 3-second views, and then through plays of 700.
So you'll see in just a moment how the using the creative, and you're going to see this creative, and it's not perfectly produced. And these are not the perfect individuals you might want as a spokesperson for your brand in theory. And by that I mean sitting around in a room with a bunch of ad people going, hey, what's going to make the best creative? But that's really great engagement. We got about the same on ours. We did not have as many long views, and you're actually going to see why. The production value of Espos is just even a little bit unique, whereas Johnny's just standing in front of a wall. And so that helped with the adoption and the consumption of that video in a longer play format.
We have found, though, often the less slick, the better. If people don't feel like they're being pitched, they tend to engage more. You know, if it's a human being engaging with them, I mean, you can do it with an iPhone if you do it right, and the messaging is right, and the performance doesn't have to be all that professional. As a matter of fact, authenticity is a word you're going to be hearing during the next political campaign a lot. Yep. I mean, one of the things Donald Trump had was authenticity. People thought he was real. Beto O'Rourke has that same trait. That's right. Hillary Clinton does not have that trait. And you're going to be hearing it more and more.
I think that's absolutely right. And also, to ladder onto that as well, you'll notice that the creative was authentic to the message we were trying to get out. So again, if you saw the candies, if you saw the stickers, it was part of, you know, a building message, and it will continue to build until the winner is announced tomorrow night at the Faces event, New Faces event. So we try to do things in a very pragmatic way, starting out a little bit as a halo and then driving closer and closer into the center as the campaign builds. And remember, this campaign's only been going for 5 days. So that's another part of this puzzle, is that if we, like you said, if we had longer, if there was a bigger campaign event, you know, it would continue to build because we started it in a very unique way. Do you want to show the videos?
We could, you know, we haven't let being.
No, you're totally fine. You guys have covered a lot of details on this.
Well, I couldn't have done any of it without Drew.
There was a lot. So basically, this is a case study. We're going to have a supreme leader of CRS. So whatever you want Johnny or Espo to do for you, now's the time to start thinking about it, because we'll find out Friday, right? Have you seen, you know, the messaging that's been around? So
How many
before
people
we show
have
these
seen
examples,
one or more of the messages that have been out?
okay,
So-
put your hand down if you work for Espo. Kidding.
That's
good.
That's these people.
Vote Chang. Just text it to 39492.
So the goal is really, you know, for us here as radio stations and artist managers or artists or marketing people or whatever we're doing here at CRS, is just a couple examples of these videos here to say, this is what we could do with literally no budget, because we sit there and we look at our bosses and we look at our results and go, God dang, I wish we did better. Well, you can, you know? And so hopefully this is an inspiration here on some of these things, and questions can come that some of us can answer. We have a couple of great experts up here to help you with your marketing efforts, to say, this is what we could bring back and actually do on the ground. And that's the entire goal of this thing, and to work Johnny or Espo's ass off. So that'll happen after Friday.
You want to show the videos?
Yeah, let's, if our technical team can pull up the site.
We can't see.
Oh, we can't see.
Let me give you a couple of reasons why I think you should vote for me and not my opponent.
1.
My opponent is propped up and is held hostage by the special interest cronies at Plastic Fix, a very powerful and corrupt group that just wants to put more guitarists on stage. Like we need more of those.
2.
I'm a heck of a lot better looking than he is. Get out there and do
might be missing a channel. It just disappeared.
We love technical challenges.
Well, we can talk about other stuff while they're getting
I think he's going to pull up Espos here real quick. You can immediately see the difference in the production value. Of course, this is a green screen and a T-shirt.
Hey, Espo here. I am honored to be considered as a contender for this year's CRS Supreme and Exalted Leader. It's time to put country music first. After me, of course. Please click the link and vote for me now.
So they had a little fun with it. And again, very simple production, can be done in any studio or any radio station.
And the ad really did have a call to action around it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I mean, I don't know if you guys have questions, but we're definitely open to having them. Some of this.
I have one more stream you can use, and All Access was wonderful. They didn't quite. I mean, they thought it was supposed to be newsworthy, and it was really supposed to be sort of a joke. Joel Denver, bless his heart, ran a PR piece for us to say vote for Espo, and we wrote it funnier than it came out. But what we're saying is, find something newsworthy, and you can get PR. And I mean, if you're not paying a PR person, it can be free, and it's another way to just. I mean, people look for news. Your local TV station is looking for news. If you've got a great hook to your promotion, if you've got a great winner for your promotion or the last promotion or whatever it is, find a way to bend it to be newsworthy, and they'll cover it.
So it's interesting that you each chose slightly different ways to accomplish the same goal. What criteria do you use when you're sitting down and you want to say, what are going to be the most effective marketing platforms for this particular project?
Well, that's interesting, because, I mean, we have, my team works with radio a lot, but we do different things when we work with retail, which we do. Often we are complementing a TV campaign when we're doing social, digital, and direct mail for retail. With radio, often we have the whole budget. So it depends what you want to accomplish. Are you looking for awareness? Are you looking to drive people to do something? You know, it really depends. We do an awful lot of social now because it's very efficient and effective. Years ago, people would, let's do 400 grips of TV, blast the whole market, we'll get people to tune in the radio station. Well, that's not how you market anymore. Sending a piece of direct mail everywhere when you can send it only to the houses that are most likely to tune into your radio station and be between 25 and 54, and avoid the old guy at the end of the cul-de-sac who hasn't sold his house yet. I mean, why waste a stamp? You can do that now. So I can't say that we have a boilerplate for anything. Everything we do is custom.
I think we look at two things. One is, what message are you trying to communicate, and then where is your audience living? What pool, what pond are they swimming in? And those two actually have to line up, because just because you're a country music fan doesn't mean that you're at CRS, and doesn't even mean that the message that either the candidates was putting out would be applicable to you in that particular channel. So for example, if we were to hit you every time in the app about voting, at some point you're going to get annoyed with that message, because guess what? That's not why you're in the app. So even though you're my target demo, that message is going to become annoying to you. So we have to think about both message and where the consumer is. And if the message is off, so for example, if I'm going to put something in the app, it better be clever, it better be engaging, it better make you laugh a little bit, because you got to get beyond that to get to what you really wanted. And so now we have to tweak the message just a little bit. Yes, Johnny Chang actually does love puppies. So we want to make it to where he puts a smile on your face, and the message can then be jumped over to whatever you're trying to do. So those are some things that we would look at as well.
And I'll tell you, every year, actually it's now 2 or 3 times a year now because things change so quickly. The research side of my business does a national study. We are just releasing the January study now. And what we do in that study is there are really 3 pools of people. People who won't participate in any research at all. We don't care about them. People who will participate in research, and we divide those into 2 pools. People who will participate in ratings and people who will not participate in ratings. Everything we do for radio uses the profiles we've built on PPM or diary participants, and they are very different people. They behave very differently from normal people. And people who will do a
Great,
an
our
online
entire
survey.
livelihoods are being determined by abnormal people now.
Right, exactly. Ratings participants are very abnormal people. But you can use that to your advantage.
So which social platforms are the most effective? Because there are a lot of options out there. Do your companies focus on just one specific one?
No, one of the things we do is we know where the PPM people are. And so we focus heavily, we differentiate by format, by PPM and format, so that we know younger people aren't on Facebook anymore. Instagram is a thing. Instagram is a big thing. YouTube is phenomenal. And as a matter of fact, I think there are demos and formats where YouTube actually went above Facebook in terms of engagement.
And YouTube is highly underutilized by radio. There's so much more radio stations can do with that. Are there some tips you guys can give them in terms of what they can do immediately at their stations with that?
Well, I think part of it is think about how you can use this channel to amplify your talent and the authenticity of the talent. And it's not just about putting together a 45-second video clip like you've seen here. It's interviewing them, and you've seen some great examples of that in some of the creative before, and last night at Amazon's event, right, where they're interviewing people and they're asking them what's your first and last, right? So that's a great piece of content that people want to get to know your talent at your station, coming up with those creative interview questions or those creative responses to things that are going on in your local market. So I think those, and even recording the bits as they're happening live in the station so that you can get a kind of a twofer there, where I heard it this morning on the air, but I really wanted to see how Erica Rico reacted when Tim Tuttle said that. I want to see her face when he said that. So those are very simple things, and if your best investment at your station is really the iPhone 10. I mean, it has an amazing camera. You can edit right there on it, and you can be publishing within 90 seconds. So it's actually something really simple.
There are demos and formats where YouTube is beating radio in terms of new music discovery. So that if you can engage with the people who really care about new music, sitting on YouTube, and there are great opportunities for radio.
Well, there's a way to attach it too that we've tried a few times. An example could be, we didn't do it, maybe somebody did. Casey Musgraves just has this huge win at the Grammys, and performs her new song, Rainbows, and everything that sort of came with that people went to YouTube and they searched Casey Musgraves. Probably misspelled it, and then they spelled it right. And they got a bunch of videos, but what if your videos were there and came up in that search? And the content was so rich and so compelling and so sticky and timely at the same time that you re-upload your stuff and you get it there and get some traction just to get into the eye space of your viewers that like Casey Musgraves but might not even know that, the Bull plays Casey Musgraves, and at least take advantage of it.
Or you did an interview with her 6 months ago.
Exactly.
Right.
As long as it's good.
And you can run PPC around it, right? I mean, again, for $15, you know how many people are going to search it, and you can test really quickly. You hear this term all the time, fail fast. Nobody ever told me what that actually meant. They just expected me to know what that meant in the audience, and I didn't get it. But really, $15 will tell you very quickly how fast people will click on that link. And if you're a morning show or you're the afternoon drive and you want to cut a video real quick congratulating her, on that new Grammy win, and run that as a pre-roll ad on all of those that are running on YouTube. Well, guess what? Now you just got in front of everybody and you attached yourself to that conversation. And again, some of this is what we would call awareness, or you would call buffering for your brand, but really it all is accretive ultimately to the goal of creating that deeper relationship, that call to action moment, with your audience when you need them to be ready to be called into action.
And one great thing is, back in the day, we'd spend a whole lot of money on a TV commercial in July and start running it in September, and realize at some point that it was a dog of a commercial. Now, I mean, I have a staff of people whose entire job is to look at engagement scores, to look at the metrics, to look at click-through. Every single day, we're on top of your campaign, and you can do it too. I mean, knowing what's getting the engagement so that you can pull it off in 5 minutes. Have something else ready. We do A/B testing all the time, and it is one of the joys of social media.
How many of you guys develop editorial calendars at your stations? Barely see. So I'll give you the best tip that I learned early on in my career in radio. There's a book called Chase Events. It's actually online. It's the book that tells you when it's National Bubblegum Day.
Yeah, Chase's
right?
calendar manual.
So it's a great tool. You can buy it on Amazon. It's $75. It'll be at your house before you get home. The thing about that is that we work with all of our clients to find those weird dates, those key things to create new content around, or to buy advertising around, especially if there's some way to tie it in. And we call that the bank shot. That's a way to get to that consumer with a very low budget, but to connect. And remember, if you're thinking about a client who has to grow their revenue by, let's call it 2 to 4% in a quarter, you're adding a little bit of value. That's how you get them to spend just a little bit more money with you, because you had a good idea around it and you can tie them in. And that can be digital, or it can be regular radio advertising.
So we have about 15 minutes. Step up to the mic if you have any questions for any of the group. Jeff, you mentioned one tactic on YouTube where you can buy the ads and be in the pre-rolls before Casey Musgraves. Once you have the message and you've chosen the platforms, are there other things you can do to develop more reach and frequency, ways you can get more out of that small amount you've spent?
Well, I don't know if you guys have heard about this new technology that's out there, but it's called radio. And I think that's the best social media platform that ever was created, predominantly because it's still the lowest CPM. And you have everybody on your station that should know about that pre-roll, right? And every one of them should be talking about, hey, it should be a 15-second liner just for that one piece of content. I think that's where a lot of stations fail to take advantage of their audience and their reach, because they're not promoting it. They're saying, go to our Facebook page and see it, right? But they're not telling me what they want me to do when they get there. And remember, part of it is just messaging that. The other thing I would say is social media is where you can begin not just to boost your post, but to share not the same content, but content that connects. So taking my user from Instagram back to my homepage. And that's really what the microsite was all about. It was about taking you somewhere to land for a specific call to action. And so whether that's your clients or whether that's your station, it sometimes takes people a next step to get them to get engaged. So just thinking about that customer journey, where they're going to go, and hitting them with different content in different places, but that it's all coordinated. You see all the pieces here were coordinated. They were tied together by their logos, tied together by the content. That's the best way to kind of get resonance as well as reach and impact.
Any other ones from you, Carolyn? Any other increase in?
I was enthralled by what you said.
That's interesting.
Well, no, I was thinking about the fact, in the 1980s in Cincinnati, there was a campaign run called Plummet Mall. And it was a shopping center that was deep in the ground and coming soon. And they ran the campaign on all the radio stations in town and nowhere else. There was a pre-test. How many people had ever heard of it? Nobody. Midway through, we did another test. This is something that happened on the radio only. And by the time the 4-week campaign was done, there was over 85% awareness. So I was thinking about that when you said, you've got the megaphone. You're wearing the ruby slippers. I think radio sometimes has an inferiority complex about its power. You can create the buzz on your air and then use everything else to support you.
So this campaign was intentionally very targeted and short. Is it good to do more in a short period of time or smaller messages over a longer period of time? What tends to be more effective when you're trying to get the message out?
Well, in politics, we call things trial balloons. You may have heard that term floated, right? So messaging is the most important component of any campaign, right? So you have a car dealership, and the car dealership says, we want to spend $50,000. Well, the first question is, what's the message? We know we want to sell cars, but is it save, or is it more fuel efficient, or what is it? It would be better to pull 20 people in a room and give them a $50 gift card and ask them, the people that have actually bought from you, the people that actually gave you money, and say, what's most important to you in this market, in this day and age, and listen to what their response is. And then start slow with that and then build upon it. Grassroots is about building inertia and momentum. And so I think, you have to break campaigns down into multiple chunks. And if something doesn't work, stop, put the brakes on. We just keep doing things because we feel like we have to do them. And I think that's one of the things that is really tough for radio salespeople today, because they're put in this awkward position, and stations are put in an awkward position to just keep taking the money. And I'm not suggesting by any stretch of the imagination you don't take the check and cash it. I'm saying, work in their best interest and think about the message, because if you're not solving the problem or delivering the result, it's going to evaporate anyway. They're going to go out of business. They're not going to get the result they want, and ultimately, at the end of the day, you're not adding value. You're not additive value.
Our clients in radio don't really care about CPM. They don't care about anything except putting butts in seats, or people through the door, or ringing the cash register, or having a car drive off the lot. That's what they think about. And if you can help them do that effectively, they really don't care how you get there.
So between today and tomorrow, obviously we had good awareness here today. How many people have already voted? So many more people have seen
you can
the
vote
messaging
again.
than have voted. What did you say?
You can vote again.
Vote Chang.
I
Vote
thought
Chang.
I thought it was
39492.
only one vote per person.
Who said that? Vote early, vote often.
Wow, okay. Vote early and vote often. What kind of tactics are you going to divulge anything here right now on what's going to happen between now and tomorrow night from either one of the candidates?
No.
Right. No.
I'll dangle a carrot out there. It's Valentine's Day. We're in Nashville. Guys or ladies, are you apart from your significant other today, if you have one? Maybe, yeah, a lot of us are, right? Yeah. Send a text to your wife in the morning. God, I hope that covered it. Team Espo, we've got a trick up our sleeve. He has an entire arsenal of artists. How amazing would it be to get Espo, to get one of his artists to cut your significant other a Happy Valentine's Day video today? It could happen if you vote for Espo. Just saying.
It might happen.
Hunter Hayes might sing your significant other a song, wishing them Happy Valentine's Day. Now, that would be better than the greeting card you forgot to buy. So, just saying, that is a possibility if you vote Espo. Maybe Johnny Chang will sing a song. I don't know. He's not a very good singer, though.
He's not a very good singer at all.
Yeah.
If he was sitting in this room, I'd tell him that.
So, but these are the type of things, as you asked that, that we talk about, and Espo's really considering it too. So you might corner him and go vote for him, and he might actually make it happen for you. There's a pretty good chance that could happen. But there's all types of little things that we look at this and you go, you got 2 days left. What do you do now? How do you get people to vote for Espo or vote for Johnny Chang in this supreme and exalted leader? I had to Google what exalted means, by the way. But we're 2 days out, to finally have an account to see who's going to win it. Now's when we ask, and you find the people that we know, and we straight up ask for the order, ask for the vote, ask them to listen to the radio station. For my example, run a radio station. Sometimes we tell them how cool we are, but we never straight up ask them to listen, That's why we set these appointments, and we use this digital marketing to really push those appointments to our passionate listeners. It's not like billboards where you just put it out there to get your logo in front of people anymore. So we could do the same thing in the next day. We're going to find you, and the whole people involved in the Vote Espo campaign. And Johnny, I think he's got people involved, right?
He's got some people involved.
Okay, good.
Yeah, he's got some.
They might be asking you for the order, and that's intentional because we don't ask for the order in radio very often. And so this is just a case study on that. Why not? They bring you a check at the end of your meal.
And he just gave you a good reason to vote for Espo. Give people a good reason to do what you want them to do. And it's not features focused, it's benefit focused. You know, number one music station, country music station, is not a benefit. Who cares? If you're not playing what I want to hear, who cares? Give them a reason to love you. The artist interview, the personality who really knows the music and can tell you something other people can't. Because otherwise, if we're just a jukebox, you can.
Well, there's
got
an emotional
competition there.
connection too.
Yeah.
You know, that runs through all of these messages, and I think we maybe saw it at the Super Bowl. You know, where Coors or Bud Light sort of attacked Coors Light for putting corn syrup in their stuff. Like, I don't know if that was a win. I guess time will tell if they take market share back. But you know, some of the other ads that were really powerful, that really speak to you, or they're funny. You know, the Dilly Dilly guys and whatever. That makes you laugh and think about Bud Light. And you know, that's a big thing that we try to do is get to that emotional connection on every little thing. You know, Johnny hates puppies, for crying out loud.
I don't
Who
think that's
knew?
true.
That's an emotional connection right there.
I think we ended up with some ganging up here. I did not realize you were on Team Espo down there. We were giving another person a seat.
It's just
Johnny said
examples,
that if you
Becky.
vote for him, more meet and greets in 2019 will be promised. He said I could promise that. So he's got personal artists ready to come out and meet and greet for him. So.
Well, there you go. Then that means that's why he should be the winner. When it comes to the budgets, when you first talked about this concept, I thought, well, how are they going to be able to do anything with $400? But it sounds like you have both come in under that. And it was what you did driven by the budget being so small, or would all of those things have been part of a grassroots campaign that you would do anyway?
That's a great question. I think if you give somebody a week to paint the wall, they'll take a week to paint the wall. So I think, you know, most of the time you're challenged with these low budgets, and I think when you are challenged, it makes you be more creative. And a good example of that was I have a client that sponsors the AMA Awards every year, but wanted to host an event, but he will not. He's Muslim, so he can't have alcohol at the event. So he said, listen, I want to throw an event, but there can't be any alcohol. Well, all of a sudden we had to come up with a way to throw an event to add people to the event without alcohol, which is usually the best way to get them there. You know, and so, you know, we were put in a box, but we came up with a really creative idea that drew over 400 people in Houston to an event. So when we talk about budgets, sometimes giving a smaller budget makes you think way more creative, or the box gets redrawn for you and you become more creative. But we challenge ourselves in my organization by saying, even when we have a big budget, we carve it up and we go, I'm only going to give somebody this much money to play with. And again, until you can prove that you've done well with that amount, only then will we expand it. My dad used to say all the time to me, good with the dime, great with the dollar. So start with something small. And if this were really a big opportunity, like we were really hosting this thing, you know, we could go back to our candidates and say, look what we did with this. Imagine what we could do with $25,000 or a year or whatever. And then obviously you've earned it at that level, and you've earned the trust of the spend. And we call trust of the spend all the time as a budget leader for us.
I think it's a bit of both. I think what the $400 did was make us sit down and think about, okay, what can we do for free, because this is no money. And essentially, knowing the budgets at radio stations these days, you're having the same conversation. What can we do for free? So it let us get creative. It made me sit and Google, oh God, these stickers are $465. I'm not buying those stickers. What can I do cheaper? And so it makes you shop. It makes you, I mean, the whole PR thing we did, the email blast we did, all the stuff we did for free, maybe we wouldn't have gotten there if we didn't have this sitting on top of us.
Got a question.
You guys mentioned platforms being tools and just things that we can utilize to help in business and the things that you do. So I was wondering if there's anything that does not exist in the form of a platform. Maybe you're driving in your car and you think to yourself, you know, I do have this problem, and none of these platforms are solving that problem. Of course, if it's proprietary, you know, say, yeah, I've got an idea I'm working on, but is there anything you could speak of that there is a problem that hasn't been solved that you would like to see a platform solve that problem that does not
That's an
exist?
interesting question.
Great question. I think for me, because we spend a lot of time trying to listen and trying to identify who our followers are. Some of that data is just locked up in black boxes at Facebook and Twitter, and you can't really look at it. But better ways to manage or measure sentiment of the people that are in your channels would be fantastic, because I think you can see a curve of sentiment to some degree, but it's really hard to tell, back to your point, people that are engaged, are they really the people that are hyper engaged or that you really need to be engaged or that you're trying to draw across the line? We have very limited visibility to some of that information.
And that becomes a slippery slope, because the whole Cambridge Analytica, they know too much about us. You know, asking for more, I'm not sure I want. You know, from the consumer side, you don't really need to know what I'm thinking.
Yeah, we can see a tremendous amount of data or response data, but it's locked up. So we get lookalike data, not real profile data, and there's a reason for that, and that's
not
great.
specific data.
Right. But you're looking for vernacular in many cases when you're talking about marketing or advertising. You're looking for, how do I say it in a certain way that it resonates emotionally with you? And we don't get to see that just yet, but it's coming.
That's why I have a research company.
Well, I think we're getting close to wrapping it up, and so I'm going to throw this at them, and I didn't give them time to prepare in advance, but each of you gets your 30-second elevator pitch for your client to get people, your candidate, to get people to vote.
Oh, gosh.
Let's start with Carolyn.
Why don't we start with you? You haven't spoken. Yeah, you can do it.
You want me to do Team Espo, and you can do
All right,
John.
30
We'll
seconds.
divide it. John Esposito is a big force in Nashville. Obviously, you know him by his glasses. You know him by the great music and the great artists that he's had. But God dang, that guy likes to party, and this is CRS, and we like to have a great time, and I can't think of a better guy to be the supreme and exalted leader than John Esposito, because that dude knows how to party. So vote
That is
Espo.
what is wrong with our industry right there. I want you to know, every one of you to know, that Johnny Chang leaves tomorrow at noon to go home to pitch to his kid at batting practice. That's the kind of man Johnny Chang is. That's the kind of man we need in this country. I'm telling you right now, we need that for the exalted leader of this organization. Vote for Espo. I'm going to vote for Espo because I wanted to send a video to my girlfriend. Yep. You can see how much we've had a lot of fun with this, so thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Jeff James, Carolyn Gilbert, Drew Bland, thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.